Welcome to Fandom Shmandom, the fandom podcast that covers everything you love and more. I'm Sierra Obermark.
And I'm Aurelia Lieb. Today's episode, we will be enthusiastically exclaiming about Heartstopper Season 3.
Without further ado, we will, as Roger Smith says, dive on in. Get up to 88 because it's time to travel back to our story recap. Episode 1. The Paris squad reunites at the beach, where Nick, having researched anorexia, desperately wants to talk to Charlie about his eating. Charlie struggles with his body image, refusing to take off his shirt, and is really preoccupied with wanting to tell Nick that he loves him. Tao and Elle are busy with their summer of love, while Isaac talks to Charlie about being Arrow Ace. The episode ends with Charlie finally saying "I love you" while Nick showers. Cue him dramatically and barefootedly running after him to say it back.
Episode 2. While Nick is on holiday, he confides in his aunt, a psychiatrist, about Charlie's struggles. While back home, Charlie fails to open up to his protective mom. Isaac feels increasingly ditched by his friends, eventually confronting Charlie about being left out and sharing his worries about Charlie's health. After a breakdown at a Sunday roast and a push from Tori, Charlie finally admits to Nick over the phone that he thinks he has an eating disorder.
Episode 3. As school restarts, Charlie tries to tell Mr. Ajayi about the rules in his head while struggling to eat his lunch. The group celebrates Nick's birthday at the zoo, where Tao and Isaac's tension peaks until Tao apologizes in the aquarium and Isaac opens up about his identity. Encouraged by Nick to write his feelings down, Charlie finally has a breakthrough conversation with his parents and asks to see a doctor.
Episode 4. A 2-month time skip reveals that Charlie's health declined while waiting for referral, leading him to enter a phone-free clinic for treatment. While he is away, Darcy cuts their hair and Nick struggles at a Halloween party until Tao comforts him. The Paris squad make a video for Charlie where Darcy reveals their new pronouns, and the group celebrates Charlie's progress with his anorexia and OCD. By December 17th, Charlie returns home, and just in time for Christmas.
Episode 5. Christmas brings family tension, with Charlie's judgmental grandparents causing stress and Nick fighting with his brother David over his dad's absence. On New Year's Eve, the group attends a party where Tao and Elle discuss taking their relationship to the next level, despite Elle's dysphoria. The night also marks a milestone as Tori meets Michael Holden, and Imogen and Sahar finally mend their shaky relationship with a kiss.
Episode 6. In April, Charlie celebrates being 3 months free of self-harm and prepares for his 16th birthday with a garden sleepover. Elle faces a transphobic radio interview that leaves her shaken, while Nick navigates a crush on a famous historian, Jonathan Bailey, during an event. Charlie continues to discuss his anxieties with his therapist, and he prepares to join Sahar's band.
Episode 7. University stress begins to mount as Nick worries about a future away from Charlie, while Tara also feels the pressure of ballet and academics. After a sex ed class and some tough love advice from Tao and Michael, Charlie storms out of an argument with his mom to see Nick. The two have a vulnerable conversation about their fears for the future and end up having sex for the first time.
Episode 8. Nick, Tara, Elle, and Imogen go on a uni tour to Kent, Oxford, and Leeds, where Nick realizes he's unsure of his identity outside of his relationship with Charlie. Back home, Charlie's mom apologizes for intensity, and Charlie wears a t-shirt for the first time while performing with the band at a festival. After a heart-to-heart between the spring siblings on a Ferris wheel, the season ends with the group reuniting and Nick and Charlie looking toward an uncertain but shared future.
Find your donut holes. It's time for our Knives Out category, where we sleuth out which storyline is the most vital to pay attention to. Your ears did not deceive you. This episode, we are only focusing on one storyline, which really stands out as the absolute most vital, hands down, no question. Yeah. And that is Charlie's journey to recovery.
When we talked about this, we felt that especially episodes 1 to 4 are purely dedicated to this. And even after the episodes 5 to 8, it still is obviously part of the conversation. Charlie's still seeing his therapist, and especially struggling with the grandparents. So like it's still obviously it's there. It's not just fast forward, everything's fine. Charlie has no issues whatsoever. Still has all his body image issues to deal with. This whole season really seems like it is centered around this story.
Definitely. And another reason why this is really the central part of this season is because we've been leading up to it for quite some time. Mm-hmm. We've started noticing this in previous seasons, and obviously Nick has started noticing, and Tori has started noticing, and it had to come to a head at some point, and this is where it is. So we have the beginning where Nick wants to bring this up with Charlie and kind of get him to admit it in a way, but also just he wants him to admit it not so that he says it or anything like that, but so that he can start moving forward and so that Nick can have some semblance of an idea of how to help. That takes a lot because it's never easy to admit something like that about yourself, especially when it is so terrible.
Yeah. And I think we see Nick struggling here to be supportive and maybe tackling it slightly wrong. I mean, he is doing it when it's just him and Charlie in the sea, so no one else is, in a shot or anything. So it's just the two of them talking. And he's obviously been like, how do I say it? How do I say it? I really want to say it. And Charlie understandably reacts pretty poorly to it. Like, he's like, no, what? And we then have those moments where Nick talks with his aunt on the holiday and asks her a little bit of how to handle it. And it's such a sweet moment when he writes down her advice exactly and like refers back to it of like how to do it. And she really says like, you need to be there, but like you also need to give the space almost. Like it's like you can't just force this onto him. He's not ready for it. He's not ready for it.
And then from some prodding from Tori and Nick kind of being a little bit more persistent and taking his aunt's ideas, he's able to get Charlie to say it out loud. And that is the first step. And after that, then, well, where do we go from here? Because like Aunt Diane says, Nick can't be the only one helping him. Like, this is a job for professionals and adults and not a 16-year-old boyfriend. And so this is really where everything starts to spark, because Charlie has to start relying on other people and not just hiding this about himself.
It's so valid to be 16 and finally admit this to yourself, and then, rightfully being encouraged by your friends and your boyfriend to talk to parents or someone adult who can actually help him, and be in that moment and be like, what if my parents don't believe me? What if they think I'm just being dramatic or just a teenager and making things bigger than they are? Because at least from my experience, that wasn't an uncommon reaction to get from my parents, being like, okay, calm down, like you're just being overly teenagery. So I think it is valid to fear that.
Yeah. Right. And so many things that happen when you're a teenager seem very dramatic in the moment. Absolutely. And they really aren't.
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of life, so many things are really not that important. But for teenagers, it's your whole world. And everything revolves around this one moment that happened at school today. And nothing will ever be the same. And all of this. And so it is very understandable if your only history is with these kind of fake dramatic things, not fake from the standpoint of you trying to share them, but they're not truly going to affect the rest of your life. But Charlie is in this position where this is a very real and dramatic issue that will affect him
Yeah.
on some level for the rest of his life, whether or not he's still continuing to struggle with this or he has recovered. But he'll always have this in his past, which doesn't necessarily need to define him, as is mentioned in the show, but
yeah,
will still be part of him for sure.
And Charlie and his mom don't exactly have an easy relationship. So I think that's another part of why Charlie struggles so much to sit down and tell his parents.
Right.
And we've
she
seen
seems
his mom has been quite tough on him. And this is in the comics as well, where she seems to have a particular problem with Charlie. Probably that's too big of a word, but she just seems to struggle with connecting with Charlie more than with her other children.
Yeah. So then we get the time skip where Charlie has managed to, with Nick's encouragement and help, write down his feelings and share them with his parents and ask for help from a professional. And we see in, journal recollection form, both Nick and Charlie's side. And
I think that was beautifully done, by the way.
Amazing.
You get the story from Nick's perspective first. And that means you don't see a lot of what's actually happening in the clinic, because for the first, quite a long time, Nick isn't aware, there's no phones, Charlie can't contact him. And then finally Nick gets to visit, and that's the first time really he gets to see the clinic himself. And we do the whole story and Charlie's coming home, and then we jump back and now we get to see it from Charlie's perspective. And now we actually get to see what it was like for Charlie in the clinic with the other patients and with the therapists and they've done, and how difficult it was for him.
Right. And I think that something that is really touched on in Charlie's narration is that while it helped Charlie, it doesn't help everyone, which is a really difficult thing to understand or even come to terms with, because when struggling with something so difficult, everybody wants, what's the fix, and a lot of people want a quick fix, and some people are really willing to put in the work to fix. But if you are willing to put in the work and you do put in the work and you're still don't feel like you've had improvement on a significant scale, is so demoralizing.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Charlie is able to realize and recognize that he's lucky in that way, and he's able to leave in not a terribly long amount of time, all things considered, and he's able to feel good enough to just see the therapist once a week and to go back to his regular life and be in contact with the regular people and have all of the, food issues thrown back at him immediately is huge. And so that's, where we start picking back up once we see Nick and Charlie reunite, is now there's going to be all these struggles of how does he assimilate what he has learned about himself at the clinic with real life? How does that mesh together?
His mom is making an effort to be more supportive. We see things like there's a meal plan to follow to help a little bit with dad. But yeah, he comes home and it's Christmas, and the first thing he has to face is his grandparents and Christmas, which is a lot of food and just a lot of dramatics if there's a whole house full of additional family members to deal with. And they're so insensitive.
Exactly.
They're like, so what was the clinic? Were there crazy people? And I'm like, everyone's like, what?
Yeah, and just being like, well, you're still skinny. I thought you fixed that. Yeah. And just these horrible comments. And that's so traumatizing to go through right after finally kind of feeling good about yourself a little bit, and then that just digs you right back down into a hole. So he has to then navigate this, then navigate the rest of the winter holidays, and because he doesn't have the escape of school for most of the time, he and his mom are really forced together so often. And she's trying really hard to be helpful, but she's almost trying too hard to protect him. But also, she's trying to use the tools that she's been given, but almost in the way that she thinks that he needs to be improving. So, when he is kind of fighting back over the food, or she's saying, oh, well, you don't want this. Well, let's look at the meal plan and we'll find something else. And he's like, can we just act like I'm normal for 5 seconds?
Yeah.
Which is a very, very valid thing to want, because if you've been through something really terrible and you've kind of accepted something about yourself, or you've been through a traumatic experience, or, any number of things, at some point, the last thing that you want is for people to, treat you like you're different, or treat you like you're ill, or treat you like there's something wrong with you. And you just want to be normal for a little bit. And he's missing that. And as once he is able to go back to school, things start to improve, because he's able to settle back into normality, and people at school don't treat him differently. People at school are happy to see him and, oh, welcome back, welcome back. And he's able to settle into a normal routine where he's not constantly reminded that he has this issue.
Yeah. When we see both Mr. Jai and Mr. Farouk telling him that they're there for him and he can talk to them if he wants to, which is a sweet moment. We don't get enough of these two, I think.
We really don't.
Get more of them.
Yes, so much more.
But we also learned that Charlie did have a little relapse in January. So while he's on his recovery, it isn't just, now he's like just working through it. He does have a relapse. So in April, we're celebrating 3 months and not 4 months of being self-harm free, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And we do see these scenes where he's blowing up at the people trying to support him. So around Tori and Nick specifically, also his friends. He's just letting out the pressure that he feels by being mean to his friends. And it's hard for them to deal with as well, because yes, he apologizes afterwards. They're trying to just be supportive. You have to deal with that on top of everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And he's also still having very, very negative thoughts towards his own body image. It shifts a little bit from the compulsions around his rules of eating and what he can eat and when and all of those things. And it shifts more into, well, I've done this harm to myself and my body. And what are other people, specifically Nick, going to think when they see it?
Yeah.
He knows he's skinny. He knows he has scars, and he hates looking at that because it reminds him of what he has done and what he's still working through. And he has these, unfounded and irrational fears that Nick is going to find him ugly and disgusting and all of these things, which he knows logically is not true. But anxiety doesn't work that way.
No.
So, now he's tackling on top of what he's still continuing to recover from and, celebrate distance from. Now he's got these new fears to compound on top of it, which just give my poor man a break.
Yeah.
My poor boy.
He has a long journey in this season, and it is so rewarding to see him towards the end, being able to wear a t-shirt to a band concert that a lot of people are there to watch and see. So that's a big step for him. He's always wearing jumpers, otherwise he's always covered up in layers.
And he's got, and even in the moments when we see him in a t-shirt before, because I did notice that, because it stuck out to me as, hold on, I thought he doesn't wear a t-shirt until, because of the comics, the t-shirts that he's wearing are always very baggy. They're always a lot bigger, and they cover more of his arms, and they're baggy on his frame. But this is like a well-fitting t-shirt that shows much of his arms and his figure and everything. And it's amazing that not only does he feel confident and comfortable enough to wear it, period, but to wear it out in public where he's going to be on a stage, very visible for everyone. So, yeah, it's so, I mean, just the expression on Nick's face when he walks in and he sees him and he just smiles at him and then he goes to take a picture or a video. That is everyone watching.
It's a big moment. Also because he was afraid of playing on the stage in general, and not for his other, like, just because like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it. And then we see him practice with the band and enjoying it. Mm-hmm. It's I think another step forward in his self-confidence journey. Like he's really getting more confident in this season, and that's also I think rightfully why Mr. Jai and Mr. Farouk encourage him to apply to be a head boy for the next year.
Right.
Because they see how much he has grown.
Exactly. And that conversation is so sweet. And your heart breaks just a little bit, especially for Farouk, who is like, you know, some kids would love to see someone like you do this. And you know that he's just talking about, if only I had that when I was a kid, and just...
And they have this little cut of where Charlie sits in the form classroom, and instead of Charlie sitting there, there's a younger version of Mr. Farouk sitting there. Such a sweet moment.
So seriously, Ajayi and Farouk, I'm saying it right now. If the engagement does not take place in the movie, I will riot. I will riot. It needs to happen. I need that moment, and I need the proposal. Let's be real. I need the proposal too. If you don't show me that part, and you just have, okay, it was cute in the comic when they walk in and everybody's like, oh, are they wearing rings? Oh my goodness. But this is a visual format of moving pictures, and I need the actual proposal, please.
Yes, I second that. The leaves are blowing in a very specific direction today. Let's follow them to discuss what we noticed on this watch-through.
This may seem silly because I'm asking for things to not go well, I suppose. But I miss relationship issues. I miss specifically the ups and downs of Tao and Elle's relationship from the comic. I thought that they were a really good example of just kind of general relationship struggles. But I feel like what we get in the show is everybody's in relationships, or most of the main characters are in relationships, and they have their own personal struggles, and then they have to communicate their own personal struggles with their partner. And there really isn't too much in the way of a relationship struggle. We get more of, Elle has her traumatizing experience. She doesn't think Tao will understand. Tao knows that something has happened, knows what has happened and knows that it is affecting Elle. Doesn't quite know how to help, but wants to be there for her. And so, it's Elle's issue that needs to be worked out, like in only her world. And then she just has to bring Tao in to help. Then we have Charlie's issues that Nick is trying to help with. And then we have Darcy's issues or Tara's issues that they then have to support each other on. And there really isn't any relationship problems. And so that kind of bugged me a little bit through the season. Please don't get me wrong. The season is amazing and I love it. But that was something that I felt was kind of missing throughout, is they're all just living their own lives and just sharing them instead of having a life together a little bit. And I think that that's also an important thing to show when you're talking about kind of all the different dramas that can occur. So I think that that's just something that I noticed watching it through that I felt that I was missing.
Yeah. We said this in the first episode of covering the show, that we actually enjoyed having not all perfect couples. That we actually get a range of people trying to be together, trying to work out what to do, figuring all of these things out. And Tower almost is too understanding throughout all 3 seasons of Elle moving to another school. Now Elle, towards the end of this season, talking about going abroad for university. He's not struggling as much with that as he did in the comics.
Well, and I also feel like they kind of, to use gaming terms, they kind of nerfed Tao's character because in season 3, specifically in season 3, a little bit in season 2 as well, but I felt that in season 1, he's such this strong personality and this character, and he's fighting back against Harry, and he's sticking up for Charlie, and he's part of all this fighting, and he's trying to stand up for Charlie against Nick, and he has all these opinions. But then once he and Elle get together, it's almost like he doesn't really exist anymore, and he's just the boyfriend who just goes along with everything. And then he, wants to create this summer of romance, and he keeps talking about how, well, he doesn't want to feel abandoned anymore. And Elle's going, yeah, well, I know that this is what happened with your dad, but you don't have to worry about that with me, and those types of things. But I don't feel like we really see it. It just, it happens off screen. And so I feel that Tao's character specifically very much falls by the wayside. Yeah. And we don't get his personality anymore.
Yeah. And it is tough because the story is focusing on Nick and Charlie, they're the main characters.
Yeah.
And there's a
lot of characters.
Yeah. And there's a lot of characters. You could say the same for Isaac. Isaac's in it a little bit more at the beginning, I feel, when he's still coming to terms with being Arrow Ace and saying to, when Charlie's like, I don't really know what aromantic means. And Isaac's like, well, you can Google that.
And then Charlie texts him the screenshot of him Googling it.
Yeah. And we have that moment in the zoo. But then after that, Isaac's not really in it as much. Like he's, in the background reading a book because there is no time for him to further explore. Like, it's almost like, right, we've done it. Everyone knows now he's Arrow Ace. He said it to his friend group. That's it.
Yeah.
Because there is no time for that. And it's even Tara and Darcy are barely in it this season, I feel like.
Right. Yeah, we get a little bit of Tara struggling with kind of balancing everything and everybody having all these expectations of her and what is she going to do about
going
uni.
To Oxford.
Yeah, everybody wants her to go to Oxford and expects her to go to Oxford, and then she goes and she hates it.
Yeah.
And then you have Darcy, who really isn't in it because they don't go on the trip to visit the universities, which was an interesting change to have Imogen instead of Darcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, and obviously, Charlie's journey is the most important part of this whole season, and you have to make room for it in the way that they did, because otherwise it wouldn't be as good. But it is kind of a shame that all of these other characters that we have been following their stories as well and really loving them sort of fall even more into the background. Yeah. And then people like Imogen get more of a spotlight, which feels unearned as well.
Yeah, I have never really clicked with Imogen's character. I think when she appears in season 1, I'm like, oh, okay, fine, I guess. But then she becomes more and more of a character, and I'm like, I don't think I needed this character.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actress is great. She's doing a great job. And the character is very interesting. But I don't know that the character is important to the story that we have already.
Right, it just means there's another character thrown into the mix with the main cast.
Right.
To follow. And then we're struggling with that. And on top of that, we had to add a few more guest appearances in this season. Because the one person that wasn't there, and we haven't really talked about it, is Olivia Colman. She couldn't make it for scheduling reasons, which is sad. So they basically have her mentioned, as Nick's mom's mentioned, but she's never on screen. which is wild because there's like a Christmas party at Nick's house and his mom is not visibly present.
Right.
And apparently there was a joke between Kit and Joe. They would sort of be like, oh yeah, what if my mom walks in and sees us or something? And they would be like, yeah, Mom, where are you? Where are you? She literally couldn't have. She wasn't on set. It was really funny for me because you watched this for the first time and I would get WhatsApp messages being like, oh, this character's in it and this character's making an appearance and this is someone that you got excited about. So yeah, I think we haven't super talked about Haley Atwell's audition, but I think
she's phenomenal.
Good substitution for not having Sarah Nelson.
I loved Haley Atwell's character as Aunt Diane. I think she does a really good job of being that kind of substitute mom in those scenes and does Sarah proud. Yeah. And I also enjoy, I have no idea if this was intentional or not, but I do enjoy the fact that a big part of like Nick's personality is that he loves Marvel. And then we have Haley Atwell.
Yeah. And he's dressed as Captain America.
So fun. Exactly. Which I love that little tidbit so much. So yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I want to draw attention to episode 4, Journey, titled Journey. Episode 4 is the episode we've already talked about when we were discussing Charlie's journey, which is the one where we see Nick's perspective and then we see Charlie's perspective. And this episode is just an amazing example of how the show really dives into deep, dark places and yet still leaves you feeling light. Yeah. And it's truly just a masterpiece. I think it's the most highly rated episode of the show. I would have to double check, but it's definitely the highest rated episode of the season and potentially the whole show. And for good reason, because it is beautifully written. It does a really amazing job of tackling all of the struggles that Charlie's going through, the struggles that Nick is going through, watching Charlie and also not understanding what's going on with Charlie, and then how they come together at the end, just with this feeling of lightness and moving forward and progress. And all of the struggles are tackled in a way that it is very clear how traumatic all of this is, but there's also this little feeling of hope that just carries on throughout all of it, where it doesn't feel like if you're going through this is everything and you're never going to get out of this. You're seeing how it might take time and it might be gradual, but there is recovery and there is this journey that will bring you forward. And, you know, for some people, it takes a lot longer. And for some people, it's a shorter amount of time. And I also really do appreciate that it shows Nick's side of things, because situations like this don't just impact that one person. They impact the people around them as well who love and care about them. And so showing Nick's perspective, I think, was a very clever way to give that example without it being a little bit watered down by showing what do his parents think and what does Tori think and what does Nick think and what do his friends think. It's very condensed, and I think that it makes it very, very clear who all is affected and how deeply.
Yeah, if we look at the mechanics of this episode, because this episode is quite different to all other episodes of Heartstopper. Yeah. First of all, we have narration. So we get first Nick talking about how things are going for him and how he's dealing with it, and we get Charlie's perspective. And I think this is probably about the only episode that is a standalone. Like, you could just show this one episode to someone and it would have like a start to end point, and you could, I think, follow it without having seen Heartstopper before. Yeah.
And then you also have Tao's video
Yeah.
at the end, or towards the end,
Yeah.
where you not only have narration, but now you also have footage.
Yeah.
And it is very unique in its styling and the way that everything is put together. But you're right. It very much is kind of a capsule episode of here's all of this information, and you don't need to necessarily know a bunch of what came before or what will come after.
Yeah. Moving on to something not so happy to deal with. Not that what we just talked about was very happy. But we have to talk about it. There's the transphobia during the radio interview. So Elle's been invited to a local radio station to do an interview, seemingly about her art, because she posts a lot of her art on her Instagram and it's been blowing up. But there's one question about the art, and then immediately it's about, what is it like to be trans? Because we had this other person on last week who thinks trans people shouldn't exist, basically. No, it's not word for word, but it's basically where it's going. And then there's I'm just asking questions. I just want to hear both sides. We need to hear both sides, so I want to hear your side. It's a lot to put on a 16, 17-year-old.
A teenager?
Yes.
Well, it's almost this kind of gotcha journalism, because what really bothers me the most, apart from the fact that they're doing this to a 16-year-old kid, is that it's a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Elle is brought on with this understanding that the interview is about her art and she's gaining all these followers and this internet fame because of her art. And then it ends up actually not being about Elle at all. And it just reduces her to being one of a group of people instead of celebrating her for her own talent and her ability and what she has worked so hard to achieve, which is how good her art is. And that's the really frustrating part watching it, because, you're kind of sitting there with Elle like, oh, I'm really nervous, but I'm really excited. Here's this question about my art. Great. This is how I feel about it. And then it goes, oh, well, and you're also, this is who you are, and this is how you identify or everything. And she's like, okay. And expecting it to go back to the art or inspiration or anything like that, and then it just completely derails and turns into this political conversation that she's just not prepared for, and rightfully so, because she's a child. It's just so frustrating to watch her feel so demoralized because she thought she's finally getting recognition for her talent. Yeah,
I also really appreciated seeing the teacher's reaction to it, because her teacher, who's also trans, has basically said, hey, we had this request from a radio station and they would like to do an interview. So she feels terrible because she's almost been like, so I've encouraged you to go do this radio interview, and it's now turned out to be really damaging and
bogus.
Yeah. So that happens, and then Elle for a while really struggled doing art again, because she's like, well, I don't really like doing it anymore, because now all I think about is this moment that happened to me. And she even reacts with I should have expected this. No, no, you should have not had to walk into a space thinking, this is not going to be a safe space for me. I'm going to be attacked. This is not what you should expect. Adults should be better.
Well, speaking of people who are better.
Yes. We finally have him. He appears this season. Yeah, of course, talking about Michael Holden, who we talked about this in episode 1 of our podcast on the season. This all started with Alice's first novel, which is Solitaire, in which it is all about Tori and her friend Michael. So this is a character that's been long beloved in the Osman-verse, as it were. So everyone was always like, is Michael going to appear in Heartstopper? Is Michael going to appear in Heartstopper? He should really appear in Heartstopper. And here he is.
Yay!
And we get his sweet brand of weirdness. So he's a weird person.
He's so weird, and I'm so here for it.
And his advice about sex and sleepovers is completely sound and turns out to be the exactly correct solution for Nick and Charlie. I love the whole moment where like Tori's like, just sneak out, and he's like, I'm just saying these two things do not have to coexist. Like you don't need a sleepover.
Oh man, he comes in, he drops his sage wisdom, and then he just pieces out or gets dragged away by Tori is more applicable. But I love him so much. I hope we get more about him because in the comics, and then I'm sure in Solitaire as well, we really explore him more. We get his speed skating prowess, and so I don't know if that's a thing that he will still be a speed skater in this live action world of Heartstopper and the Osmanverse, as you said, but something where he can become an Olympian would be very cool because he deserves his chops and he should be an Olympian because why not?
Yeah. Also, like the scene where he comes to Charlie's birthday party and he's like, here's a cat that I just needed to buy for you. So, not a real cat, we should say. So, figurine cat.
I saw this and it had the same vibe as you, basically.
Like,
so here's a cat.
And I like literally Tori's like, we are going.
I saw a mention that their responses of meowing at each other in response to the cat was improvised.
That makes sense.
Which is so good. I feel like it's the perfect weirdness on top of the Michael weirdness.
Also, like Tower opening the door being like, Charlie, do you have a friend we don't know? Oh, that's just Michael. It's like, okay.
That did not answer the question at all. Well, seeing Charlie and Tori together this season is so wonderful because we get a lot more of their interactions. In season 1, I think we get maybe 3 scenes or so of Charlie and Tori interacting. And then in season 2, we get a little bit more of Tori. But season 3, we have so much more brother-sister relationship, Tori trying to look after Charlie. And then towards the end, Charlie finally turning it around on her and saying, great, you've looked after me. You've done a good job. You clearly love me. Sorry. But you also have feelings. And you should probably also put those feelings elsewhere. I can't be the only one.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same advice that Nick gets. You can't be the only one for Charlie. And Tori hasn't had anybody say that to her. So Charlie's the one who says, Tori, I can't be the only person that you care about. And I know I'm not. So stop pretending.
Yeah.
And I love it though, because she really is trying to be that lifeline to the family, especially when their mom is really struggling with connecting with Charlie and everything. She's trying to be that buffer of, well, Mom, don't you see, maybe this isn't the best way to go about it, or Charlie, this is, what's going on with Mom. And she always gets the brunt end of it because then they end up getting mad at her, which is a bummer, but also she's just trying.
The whole scene at Christmas when Charlie is about to leave to Nick's and Tori's like, you're dumping me. Like, I'm now here by myself.
Yeah.
I can't escape. Can you not just stay for me? And he still leaves. And then she eventually follows him to Nick's and says, look, you need to come back. Mom's almost ready to apologize, I'm sure. Just please come back with me.
Yeah. You left me there on my own. Yeah. Now I had to deal with all of them by myself. I love their connection, and she clearly knows him better than anybody else knows him, and I credit older sister magic for that.
Also, older sister magic for making David disappear instantly. Like, she appears at the door, and David's like, I'm leaving.
Oh, bye.
Oh, that person, bye.
Cloud of dust, David-shaped hole in the wall.
Honestly. I know you just bared your soul, but it's our love is always a thing to be proud of. The world needs more of it. Category for most iconic character moment. Now, I think, let's be honest, we struggled.
We did. There's so many moments, and there's so many things that could be important.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to find something potentially iconic.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that happens. So it was really, really, really difficult to narrow this down.
Yes. I think there's so much that happens this season, and with the time skips and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we both agreed it should be something around Charlie's journey.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, we picked Nick's reaction over the phone to Charlie sharing his diagnosis. And then I know we're covering it later in the quote section, but it's such a beautiful reaction. Charlie's just jumping into it. They're like, right, there's no easy way of saying it. This is my diagnosis. And Nick's like, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
And then Charlie apologizes, and Nick tells him, no, you're still not allowed to do that. Which I think is a nice way of Nick showing Charlie, we are still fine. We're still together in this.
Mm-hmm.
We're still, this doesn't change things for me.
And I'm not going to treat you any differently.
Yes.
As well, which is a huge fear of Charlie's. And so he is just nipping that in the bud immediately.
There you have it. Tell us if you think we should have picked a different moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please. But first, everybody sit down. It's time for our I Am Iron Man. Most iconic and most important scene category. This was another tricky one because, again, so many things. But ultimately, it really has to be Charlie holding Nick's hand in one hand and his notes in the other, sitting down with his parents to finally ask for help.
Yeah, that is one of the many moments that I cried this season, watching it.
Yes. So many moments.
Yes. I warned you. I was like, oh, by the way, I think you're going to cry a lot. Because I cry a lot watching season 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, specifically episode 2, 3, and 4.
4, yeah.
Just
afterwards
tears.
It's better, but yeah.
Better. There's still some moments, but better.
Yeah. We aren't making threats, we're making memories. It's time for the Why We Like This category for best lines.
People need more love than one person can give. Aunt Diane to Nick.
Such a big and important quote. Everyone, write it down. Take it with you.
And this
for
one
the
as
next one, which is Mr. Ajayi saying, "That's okay. We all have bad brain days."
It's true. Very true. On a lighthearted note, are you peeking? What? No. You're allowed. We're in love. That might not be the exact quote, but that's pretty much the quote. I tried to triple check it, and so yes, you're allowed to correct me as well, because dear listeners, schmisteners, we are in love.
I don't think we need to say that this is Nick and Charlie, but this is Nick and Charlie.
Yeah, this is true.
And we have a Darcy quote for one of the rare moments of them actually being in the season. And it's before they work out the non-binary saying, "Don't you hate it when you're called a lady?" And everyone around her was like, "What? Not really." And I was like, yes, I do. I very much hate it.
Perfect. This is the one that we mentioned already, but no, the S word rule still applies to the mentally ill.
Yeah.
Nick to Charlie.
Is such a beautiful way of Nick just reacting to. It's such a big moment for Charlie to reveal his diagnosis. It's just, yeah. Around the same time, we have Nick wondering, still not sure if Tori likes me, because Tori sort of ensures that he can come visit Charlie. So they're both in the back of the car. But then followed by Tori saying to Charlie, "Nick is my favorite of all your friends." It's just a nice little moment of Nick being like, I don't understand Tori. I don't know if she likes me. And then Tori's like, no, he's the one of your friends I'm okay with. We have a heartfelt one, but a very honest moment with Charlie saying, "Part of me didn't want to get better. Putting in the effort seemed too hard." And I think that's
relatable.
That's a very honest way of looking at it, because you need to be ready to actually go on this journey. And yes, it's probably going to be difficult, but if you are not ready to do it, people will struggle to help you.
Charlie and Nick again. You're allowed to be a mess sometimes. Oh, I'm a mess now, am I? I think we're both a bit of a mess.
Aww. Sweet boys.
Mm-hmm. They're cuties.
I put another Darcy moment in here because, of course, I had to. This time it's Felix, one of Elle's friends, who is non-binary and is at school with her. They're talking to each other, and Felix advises, saying, "You don't have to do anything. Just chill." Because Darcy's like, "Oh, well, I'm doing the they them pronouns. I haven't really worked up my courage to do anything beyond." Felix is just like, "Yeah, it's fine. Your time."
From Jeff, the therapist, trauma doesn't define you.
Say it louder for the back.
Yes. Write that one down again. Everybody?
Yes.
Everybody?
Homework assignment.
And then this really sweet one between Imogen and Nick. Who even am I? You're my friend.
Mm.
Which I think is almost a defining quote of the whole show.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, who am I? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And everybody else is just going, you're our friend.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. Next question.
Now, we've already talked about Michael a little bit, so of course we had to put a quote from Michael in here. And it is around Charlie's 16th birthday with the cat. And Michael says, 16 is when everything starts to make sense. Or when nothing makes any sense anymore. Kind of the same feeling anyway. Beautiful chaos.
And then he gets dragged away.
Yes. And then when Charlie and Tori talk about Tori and Michael on the Ferris wheel, Charlie is saying, "You're having a weird amount of issues around labels for a straight couple." Because both Tori and Michael have confided into Charlie being like, "Well, what does boyfriend and girlfriend really mean?"
Let me give you some advice that I've been told numerous times. Just talk to each other.
Yeah.
Go that way. Well, dust off that card deck and get ready to shuffle. It's our Joker category. Who is the MVP of this season? It's Michael, right?
Sure, I can
it's
go with
Michael.
that.
He pops up very close to the end. He has some great zingers. He gives him a cat.
He has nothing to do with the main storyline that we've defined.
Not at all.
That works.
We just love him so much.
Yes. But I guess on a more serious note, we probably need to pick someone from the main storyline.
Dang.
Sorry.
The S word is not allowed here.
Sorry.
Stop it. That is the natural reaction, though.
It is, yes.
Stop saying sorry. Sorry.
We still struggled a little bit with MVPs, and so we have another maybe honorable mention, maybe, like, you let us know. So around the main storyline, we have identified Nick and Tori as the encouraging forces to help Charlie get help, because they really tag team, I guess, without maybe how you would imagine a team to work, but they don't really talk to each other. But they both help Charlie. And I think there's one of the rare moments where they do talk to each other, where Nick is like, "Yes, I'm trying to get him to talk to your parents."
Right. And Tori texting him and saying, you need to call him.
Yes, you need to do something. When are you coming back? But I think at the end of the day, the main story is about Charlie, so
it has to be Charlie.
It has to be Charlie.
I mean, look at what he's accomplished. He goes from having all of these suppressed stresses and disorders and everything that he's not ready to accept, and he's really struggling. He won't speak about it to anybody. He starts confiding in people. He asks for help. He gets help. He continues to progress. He moves forward even though he relapses. He's able to continue on with a more normal life following this after moving through the difficult period where it didn't feel so normal. Now he's back in it. He and Nick's relationship is stronger than ever. He's on better terms with his mom.
He's more confident.
He's much more confident. He's not struggling with the body issues specifically as much. And he's able to turn everything around on Tori and start giving her advice.
Yeah.
So he's, I mean, he has to be the MVP. He's achieved so much.
Absolutely.
In 4 hours of television.
Yeah. No, I think that's the obvious choice. Well done, Charlie. He's an inspiration to all of us.
Today's public service announcement, a serious one this go around. If you or someone you care about is struggling, please seek help. Friends, family, or professionals are around, ready and willing to give support. Look up your local or national hotline or turn to someone you trust. Life is worth living and worth living well, and the world is all the better for having you in it.
100% agree.
Thank you, dear listener Schmisters, for listening to this episode of Fandom Shmandom. If you'd like to discuss this episode or any other episode we've done, please hit us up on our social media channels. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Fandom Shmandom Pod. And remember, we are also on Patreon at patreon.com/CW/Fandom Shmandom if you'd like some extra details, extra information, more of our dulcet tones.
Please don't forget to rate and review us if you like the episode. It really helps the algorithm place us in front of other like-minded schmissners out there. With that, we're out, y'all.
Don't forget to tip your ceramic cats.
And fare thee well.
Fandom Shmandom was created by Sam Williams and Sierra Obermark. The show is produced and edited by Aurelia Lieb. The music is by Jeremiah Aus.
Christmas brings family tension. With Charlie's judgmental grin. I should. Episode 5. You're right. Thank you for telling me before I got too far.